What's up, guys? Aussie Sim Commentator here, and welcome to the final round championship deciding race for Season 2 of 2019 here at the Output Racing League from the Homestead Miami Speedway. I'd like to welcome you all to this championship deciding event. The points are pretty close. I just got to bring it up real quick. So at the moment we have Thomas Harmon in the lead of the points, and he is only leading by 9 over Brian Pizzakemi and Jonathan Hernandez, just 12 back from our points leader. Realistically, Matt Burgess is also in with a shot, being 18 points back from the leader. But it's going to be very close for these guys, for all of them being within 20 points. The point structure is pretty damn close. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers react with the way that things are going to go here. We're just going to quickly organise ourselves a little bit of a pit party so we can talk to you guys a little bit about how this track is feeling for the drivers. So let's get into that before we get too preoccupied with ourselves. We'll just get all the drivers down to the pits here for a pit party. Yeah, this is the final round of the season. Been a long and arduous 12-round season, for which half of it was not broadcasted due to computer issues that I've been facing. So we've got some of the drivers starting to line up and get ready for the pit party here.
Come on, get it turned around. They go the wrong way.
We're just doing this so we can
Come
sit
on, get
at the
it turned
back.
around. They go the wrong way.
It looks like we're starting to roll off now.
Car outside. Clear outside.
So we want to be at the very back of this thing. We're going to let everyone go in front of us. Alright, it's time to get formed up and ready to go.
Coming. Alrighty, pace car in. 3, 2, 1, green flag.
And we're off and racing for the pit party.
Car
That
outside.
outside line didn't have much go. Looks like the 7 of Brian Harris walked the field a little bit.
Right.
Now, even though you can run flat out here for the first lap, it is very not advisable. As we got Brian Pizzakemi right behind us, Brian Harris in the 7 on our outside.
Clear outside. Car outside. Still on the right.
That outside line is very strong in certain places.
2.9. 557. Clear outside. Car outside. Still on the right. Still on the right. Clear outside. Car outside. Clear outside.
As we squeeze our way in between the two Bryans. See if we can squeeze on the outside of Brian Harris here.
Car inside. 30.844. Still on the left. Clear inside. Car inside. Clear inside.
With Brian Pizzagami there giving us a little bit of a touch-up going into the corner, which pretty badly stunted the run that we were having there. Whoa, as we hit the wall on the entry to turn 3. That's something we're going to have to watch out for, is these guys hitting the wall on entry of the corners. Also, the tyres don't last as long as they usually would for a race. This track has some fairly high tyre deck. You see Brian Harris there getting into the wall in turn 3. See, tyre deck is not so bad that you need to start running the brake, but it does get pretty bad pretty quickly. We did a practice race yesterday, and it was pretty sketchy. See, I'm starting to lose these guys ahead of me a little bit here. I'm just trying to save my tyres a little bit. One thing I noticed is everyone's been very respectful. No one really trying to crash anyone. Traditionally, the exit of 4 and the exit of 2 were hotspots with the old configuration for the A car here. But it seems that with the new package, those problems have been sorted out and things are just a little bit more smooth. You see Brian Pizzakemi going up on my inside now. We're going to let him have it, because he is faster. Then we'll just sit in behind him here and see if we can go up the field with him a little bit. But sitting right up behind someone is really bad. The tight nature of this car really comes into fruition when you're right up behind someone. You lose all the air off your nose and you can find yourself sliding up to the wall very quickly. As we see now, Brian Pizzakemi marching his way towards the rest of the pack. We've just kind of dropped off behind him here. So we're going to take this time to show you guys what it's like to get onto the pit road here. One of the harder pit roads to get onto, because you have to actually enter here on the back straight. Now, on old tyres, this flat section of pit access road is very difficult. As you can see, we're not even pushing that hard and we ran a little bit wide there. And it's a very hard stop to get into the pit lane.
Start looking for your side.
Now let's start looking at how these guys are doing in practice. At the moment, the top time is set by the 12 of Matt Burgess. And he's done a 30.507 and just 6 thousandths of a second behind him is the 38 of Thomas Harmon. And 1.018 off the lead in the practice standings here is Jonathan Hernandez. So we've got 3 of our main title protagonists up there in first, second, and third. Fourth, because my time doesn't count, so fourth place, Brian Pizzacchemi, the other championship protagonist, is right up there as well. And he's just .035 off the top time. As we see, these guys are bunching up a little bit here. The 88, the 12, and the 38. These guys are practicing how it's going to be for the actual race when they all get around each other. These guys will be fighting tooth and nail for any and every advantage they can get. So it's definitely going to be a very, very close championship fight. The 12 of Matt Burgess going for a big move on the inside of Jonathan Hernandez in the 88. He got tight, and that's allowed the 38 of Thomas Harmon to sneak past Jonathan Hernandez and almost get a little bit of an overlap on Matt Burgess as well. See Thomas there feeling the effects of the draft and how tight the car gets in the corner, slipping up the track a little bit just to try and get some air on his nose. Try and keep that front wheel down and on the track. Now Jonathan Hernandez sends it up the inside, nothing doing there, didn't have the momentum to get up beside Thomas as Matt Burgess gets into the wall off turn 4, driving it too hard. And that's allowed Thomas Harmon to take the lead here in the pit party. Going to go and focus on crashes here for a little bit, see what's going on around the track. We've got Frank Isaacson here down in the 10th position, back up to Matt Burgess now. Still holding on to that slender lead, which is now still by just 0.006 of a second. At the moment, we have 12 cars registered for this race. Oh, as we see Frank Isaacson getting a little bit wrong coming off turn 4. We've got some more cars involved in that as well, including the 78 of Brian Pizzacchemi. I think Brian Harrison is 7. Yep, he was involved in that as well. Let's see if we can go back and have a look at what transpired here. Oh, Frank got loose. Brian and Brian were just in the wrong places at the wrong time. That's how they got caught up in that. For some reason it's still focused on these guys in the pits. We're going to go have a look at the 5 of Mark Pentecoff now. Very nice paint scheme right there. Looks like he's practicing coming onto the pit road. Let's see how he does. Nice, calm, and controlled. That's the way you want to get onto the pits. We're going to have a look at the 13 now of Travis Massia. Currently down in the 9th position with a 30.681. 0.174 off the leading time, still set by Matt Burgess in the 12. As now we see Matt Burgess actually peeling off the track to practice getting onto the pits himself. Let's see how he does. He carried a lot more speed there. Looks like he just managed to get onto the pits nicely. Back it on track, we see the 7 of Brian Harris, the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Currently 2nd and 7th. Thomas will be spitting chips that he's 6,000ths of a second behind the time set by Matt Burgess. He'd probably be spitting it even more if this was actually qualifying. They see now Thomas Harmon coming in to practice his entry onto pit road. Old Travis Messier in the 13, carrying way too much speed. That is the danger of the pit road here. Oh, and Thomas Harmon's going for a spin as well. Locks it up on the grass. Travis Messier goes for another spin. We still got 8 minutes and 45 seconds left. It looks like these guys are starting to organize themselves for another pit party. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I've got everyone in the pits, so they're just going to start forming up and getting ready to go. Looks like the lead car for this one is going to be the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. In his very nice Valvoline paint scheme. We're waiting for everyone to form up. Jonathan barely crawling here as he waits for everyone else to catch up to him. Here comes Travis. As we see the cars coming off of turn 4. Looks like we've got some kind of a structure here. Travis Messier getting the big jump off the line. Jonathan Hernandez with a terrible start there. You see the 12 of Matt Burgess right up there. So is the 38 of Thomas Harmon. As they're all chasing on the tail of the 13 of Travis right now. These guys locked in side-by-side combat. Our top 4 points protagonists right there in the thick of it. As we see the 88 just sliding up in front of the 7 there. It was almost not clear, but he somehow made it work. And Travis has now been overtaken by the 12 of Matt up in the front of this. The 88 of Jonathan Hernandez tried to get his way through there as well, couldn't quite get it done. The 7 of Brian Harris now fancies his chances to try and overtake the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. And Travis is fancying himself a move on Matt Burgess. We're going to go sit back in the pack here a little bit. It looks like we've got the 38 overtaking the 7 on the outside. That's Thomas Harmon. And the 7 is Brian Harris. Formerly the Danica Patrick of the field, now the Scott Speed of the field. As you see, at least with these guys, they have strung out a little bit here. No one will be wanting to make moves too early, or else you burn up your tyres, and that could put an end to everything for you. As we see now, a couple of guys in the middle of the pack there battling it out. That's the 78 of Brian Pisacami and the 38 of Thomas Harmon. These are the main two protagonists of the championship right now. Looks like Brian holds on to the position there. It looks like Jonathan Hernandez in the 88 has gotten around to 13 of Travis Massier as well. Travis seems to be falling off a little bit here. He might have burnt up his tyres just a little bit too much. Oh, and he's gotten loose. He's crashed it. He's into the inside wall. Locks up the brakes so he doesn't spew back out onto the track. Good job. But a heart-stopping moment for a few of these guys behind them. We've seen now the 38 and the 78 fighting very hard for this position. This is effectively P3 in the pit party. Oh, a big bump there by the 38 onto the 78. Got him loose. Brian got it straightened out again, but he is dropping like a rock. And that has put him all the way back behind Frank Isaacson in the 24 car. He now works to the inside of Frank to try and get that position. Doesn't quite have the momentum. It looks like the inside line is going to be very hard to pass on for these drivers. As we are now less than 2 minutes away from jumping into the qualifying session here. These guys are showing us how it's done. Alright guys, for the moment we're going to jump away and take a quick break. And when we come back, it should be just about time to start qualifying. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's time to qualify here for the Output Racing League final round at the Homestead Miami Speedway. As you see by our sponsors, this is brought to you by Speedway Memes on Facebook, facebook.com/Speedway Memes 69, by Miller's Creature Comforts, and by the Output Racing League. We see now the 21 of Brian Chambliss is on the track. There's a 78 of Brian Pizzakemi there as well. Got 16 cars in the session now. 15 drivers to take the race and one commentator. For those of you playing at home, the strength of field for this race is a 23-26 so far. But we could get another one or two drivers in while qualifying is underway. You see the first laps are starting to get put onto the board now. Jonathan Hernandez with the top spot. Brian Harris P2, Travis Massier 3rd, Frank Isaacson 4th, Jaron Sanchez 5th, Mark Pentecup in P6, Brian Pizzakemi 7th, and Brian Chambliss down in 8th. But that started to change again. You see Frank Isaacson there possibly getting a little bit loose, maybe carrying just a little bit of the apron there with him. Jaron Sanchez getting around him. League owner and operator Jaron Sanchez. There's Frank now, right in front of the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Still currently sitting on pole. As we have just over 2.5 minutes left in the qualifying session. 5-minute open qualifying here for season 2 of 2019. A lot of guys will be looking at jumping into the pits now, grabbing a new set of tyres and coming back out to charge at it again. As we see Jaron all the way on the low line, he's going to the pits. Thomas Harmon now with the top time, a 30.521. And Travis Massier has gone for a spin. So Jonathan Hernandez now in P2 by 0.059 of a second. Brian Harrison 3rd, 0.119 off the lead. Darren Sanchez in 4th, 0.128 off the lead. And Matt Burgess in P5, 0.157 off the lead. Now let's see what these drivers can do. We're a minute and a half left in qualifying. This is where the real scoreboard shakeups are going to start happening. .50 seconds left in qualifying. Still Thomas Harmon on top. Jonathan Hernandez P2. Matt Burgess 3. Brian Harris 4th. Darren Sanchez in 5th. Travis Massier in 6th. Frank Isaacson 7th. Mark Pentecup 8th. Logan Lansford 9. Brian Pizzakemi 10. Brian Chambliss currently P11. That's the 11 cars who have currently laid down a lap. Half a minute left in qualifying. Can anyone pip Thomas Harmon there for top spot? And where are these guys who haven't set laps yet? Why haven't they done anything? For those of you who don't know, to be in the running for the Hard Charger Award, you must have set a legitimate lap time. As qualifying has now come to an end, drivers will have 43 seconds to finish off their laps. Looks like Jonathan's going to practice getting onto the pit road at speed. He's currently in P4, and that is where he's going to stay unless Frank Isaacson can jump his way up the field a bit. I don't think he will, as the 88 Jonathan Hernandez is getting very squirrely there in the pits. And here is the 28 car. Qualifying is now over. The grid is set. And now it's time to prepare for the final round of Season 2 of 2019 here for the Output Racing League. Your pole man is Thomas Harmon with a 30.521. P2 goes to the 12 of Matt Burgess. P3 will be the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. P4 is the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. P5 the 7 of Brian Harris. P6 the 4 of league owner and operator Jaron Sanchez. P7 is Travis Massia. P8 Frank Isaacson. P9 Logan Lansford. P10 Mark Penticuff. P11 will be Brian Chambliss. P12 Gerald West, the first of the cars without a lap time. P13 will be the 28 of Brandon Stevens. P14 will be the 99 of Dustin German. P15 will be the 18 of Brian Beach. And P16 will be the 33 of Ty Marasco. Got 40 seconds left to wait for these cars to get onto the grid and get a boogie in it. Looks like we've got 14 cars lined up so far. There's the 15th one. One more and we've got everyone who is going to be racing onto the track. And it looks like Ty Marasco did not make it onto the grid, so we're going to have 15 starters for this race. We'll see the drivers start to make their way onto the track very shortly. The pace car is off. There's the 12 of Matt Burgess. So the top 4 in points is the top 4 on the track. So they've already set themselves up with a great position to start off this race. Going to be interesting to see how they conduct themselves for these 100 laps here of the Homestead Miami Oval. Everyone will be going through their final checks, making sure they got everything tightened up properly. The pace car is in, the green flag is out, and we are off and racing for the final round of the 2019 Season 2. The 12 of Matt Burgess got an excellent start there around the outside of Thomas Harmon. Thomas fights back on the inside. The inside is the preferred line earlier on in the laps. Thomas just getting out there, getting clear. He has no challenges whatsoever. The 78 of Brian Pizzakemi trying to follow him into P2. He's got the position at the moment, but whether he can hold it will be another story. Matt Burgess is scored as P2 as they cross the line. As you see, these guys bunching up a little bit here. Thomas Harmon trying to work the lanes. He doesn't want to give an advantage to one over the other. He's just kind of defending pretty hard. The 12 of Matt Burgess now clean and clear into P2. Looks like Jonathan Hernandez in the 88 making his way into third. Brian Pizzicami still down at the bottom line there, slipping back to P5. He's got a gap here if he can take it, and that is where he will slot in indeed, into P5 behind Brian Harris and in front of Jaron Sanchez. Good to see Jaron up into P6 at the moment. Just behind him we got another battle going on. See the 13 of Travis Massia on the inside of the 21 of Brian Chambliss. And it looks like he's lost the position. He's going to slot in behind Brian here, as we're going to go back up to the front of the pack at the moment to see how things are shaking out. The 38 of Thomas Harmon still holding on to the advantage over the 12 and the 88. These guys are fighting very hard indeed. It looks like the 12 of Matt Burgess getting a little bit tight there on the exit of 4. Managing to hold onto it for now. But we'll just have to wait and see how things will unfold for these guys, tyre strategy wise and even fuel strategy wise. 40% tyre and fuel deck is set for this race. We saw a battle going on in the back there a little bit. Not sure who it was. I think I saw the 18 of Brian Beach in it. Yep. He's on the inside of the 28 of Brandon Stevens. And it looks like he's gotten that position done. Brandon trying to fight his way back up to the bumper of Brian Beach. Brian holding onto it for now. We're going to go back up towards the front a little bit here, just to the 7. I thought there was a battle going on there, but I was a little bit wrong. I think it was the 42 and the 21, Brian Chambliss and Logan Lansford. There's 3 Valvoline cars out here on the track. Got the 42, the 7 and the 88, so it's a little bit difficult to distinguish which one is which. As now we can see the 4 of Jaron Sanchez still sitting in P6 at the moment. Just biding his time a little bit. Not in any kind of a battle, just sitting there, maybe kind of conserving his tyres a little bit. Hoping for a long green flag run so that way he can attack later on. But he got very tight there in turn 4, almost collecting himself into the wall on the exit. But he's still currently behind his 78 of Brian Pizzicami. Brian is also right on the tail of Brian Harris. Brian Harris is right behind the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Looked like the 12 of Matt Burgess just blinked out there a little bit. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. There's these guys exploiting the alternate dimensions, trying to get a little bit of extra speed. As we are now 9 laps in the books. The way your top 10 is sitting at the moment is Thomas Harmon, Matt Burgess, Jonathan Hernandez, Brian Harris, Brian Pizzicami, Jaron Sanchez, Logan Lansford, Ryan Chambliss, Travis Massia and Frank Isaacson rounding out the top 10. Brian Beach in 11th, Brandon Stevens 12th, Gerald West in 13th, Justin German and Mark Penticuff 14th and 15th respectively. As we have now completed 9 laps. We're on lap number 10 of 100. We're almost 1/10 of the way through this race. It looks like things have started to just get a little bit strung out as we go to a much wider shot. We can actually see there is a move being made here. The 4 of Jaron Sanchez is under attack from the 42 of Logan Lansford. Looks like Logan on that outside line is going to have the momentum advantage coming out of turn 2. And that is Logan up into P6, Jaron down into P7. Brian Chambliss now also fancies his chances, going for an inside run going into turn 3. He could almost get the slide job there, but couldn't quite get it pulled off. But he did force Jaron to go up higher than he probably normally would. And he had to back out a little bit, so he didn't get into that outside wall. Brian Chambliss now, with the inside run, gets the move made and slots himself up into P7. Jaron down into P8. We're just going to go up ahead of these guys a little bit now. Looks like the 78 of Brian Pizzicami starting to get a little bit racy here behind the 7 of Brian Harris. Pizzicami will be wanting to clear Harris as quickly as he can so he can join up with the fellow 4 combatants in front of him, because he's fighting for a championship. Brian Harris actually giving him the position there. That's Brian Pizzicami up into 4th, Harris down to 5th. As we're going to go back to the top guys in the field at the moment, it looks like things are starting to get a little bit strung out here. Thomas Harmon with a 0.3 of a second lead currently over Matt Burgess. Jonathan Hernandez has slid back quite a fair bit as well. He's 1.3 seconds off the lead, and Brian Pizzicami is coming. As now we're going to go back and have a look at the 7 and the 42, the 2 Valvoline cars battling at it right now. Looks like the 42 of Logan Lansford going for an over-under, getting underneath Brian after being on top of him. Can Logan get the move made into turn 1 and 2? He can. There's a slide job. That's a move that Logan has perfected using his dirt track experience. And it looks like Brian Harris not wanting to let him go too easily. They're trying to get an inside move, couldn't quite get it done, and now he's under attack from the 21 of Brian Chambliss. He lost all of his momentum. Brian Chambliss getting the run on the inside of Brian Harris. Again, we have too many Brians. Not so many Brandons in this race. In fact, we've only got the 1 Brandon in this race, so that's alright. But see, just behind these guys, we've got another big battle going on as well. There's Gerald West in the 86, the 13 of Travis Massia, and the 4 of Jaron Sanchez. As we are now 16 laps into this race. I'm not sure how long the fuel and tyre run is here. It looks like things could be starting to get very interesting very shortly. And it looks like these guys have gotten themselves sorted out and gone back to the single file orientation of the line. As we see just up ahead of these guys, the 7 and the 86. Brian Harris holding up Gerald West a little bit here. Gerald looking to go around the outside of Brian Harris. Brian staying right down low on the track. Couldn't use the low line to his advantage. Brian Harris getting that move made very easily. We also see the 4 of Jaron Sanchez dropping back as well. The 18 of Brian Beach getting the run on him, but Jaron fighting back on the outside there. Came back from over a car length behind to retake 10th position there. So it's quite the fall from grace from Jaron Sanchez. As we have a look at this elongated view from the turn 2. And now we're going to the much wider shot so we can have a look at a lot of the action going on. It definitely seems that Thomas Harmon with a big advantage over the rest of the field right now. He's got 0.5 of a second over the second place car of Matt Burgess. There's now Jaron Sanchez looking to make a move on the 7 of Brian Harris. We're going to zoom right back in on these guys. Couldn't quite get it done. And that might allow the 18 of Brian Beach to get another run on Jaron here. You guys just bear with me for a second. It looks starting to get a little bit dry from all this talking that I've been doing. Darren now up on the inside of Brian. Gets the move made. Couldn't quite get him cleared coming off of turn 2 though, but he should be able to clear him going into turn 3. That's the theory of it anyway. And it looks like Darren has indeed got him cleared. He's just got to slide up in front of him now. There it is. That's Darren Sanchez back up into P9. Brian Harris trying to fight back on the inside though, and behind them we also have the 18 and the 28 battling it out. That's Brian Beach and Brandon Stevens. And joining in on that battle as well looks to be the 99 of Dustin German. Where did this 99 come from? He's just come from absolutely nowhere amongst these guys. And he is passing them all like they're standing still, as we see the 7 and the 28 getting into the wall a little bit there. Could have been a little bit of a netcode contact with the wall, but either way, it looks like they've all come out of it cleanly. 99 of Dustin German just thundered his way past those guys like they were nothing in half a lap. As you see now, the 7 of Brian Harris trying to mount a charge back on to Dustin German. Couldn't quite get it done. And in fact, oh, Brandon Stevens definitely into the wall that time. Brandon Stevens has spun out in the main straight. He's down on the apron. That shouldn't bring out a caution. And he has just towed. He is gone out of there. We're going to go and have a look at the Aussie Sim commentator chopper now. Not the cockpit, the chopper. See what action we can see from around the track. Thomas Harmon has just very slowly been pulling away from Matt Burgess here. The gap is now 0.8 of a second. 0.9 even. Jonathan Hernandez fallen all the way back to nearly 3 seconds behind Thomas Harmon. And right on his tail, just half a second behind him, is the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. As I saw a battle unfolding here, that's the 4 of Darren Sanchez battling away with the 99 of Dustin German. These guys are battling for the 9th and 10th positions. Looks like Darren choosing to run the Larson line right up there next to the wall. Dustin going down as far to the inside as he possibly can. It looks like that inside line starting to come back in for these drivers now. And Dustin gets the move done quite easily there. We see another little battle forming up behind these guys, the 18 and the 7. That's Brian Beach and Brian Harris. It looks like these guys have gotten themselves sorted out now. We're going to let iRacing decide what we're going to focus on for a little bit here. We've got the 38 of Thomas Harmon still in the lead. Now we're back looking at the 42 of Logan Lansford. Gerald West and Brian Chambliss are right behind him. I think we're going to stick here with these guys. It looks like they could be fixing to get ready to fight here in a second. Well, we're going to put it onto Gerald West because he is the middle car. Looks like Gerald has got quite a bit of a run going. He's been saving his tyres a little bit, I do believe. Right on the tail of Logan. Pulls down low for the inside run. I don't think he's going to quite get the move made, although he's very close. Oh, there's almost contact. As Gerald starts sliding up very early in the corner, almost making contact with Logan. Luckily for him, Logan backed out of it very slightly to allow him to not crash there. And it looks like Logan wants to try and get that position back from Gerald. These guys are fighting it out for the 5th position right now. Logan with that big inside run couldn't do anything with it as Gerald West is just so strong on the outside there. Brian Chambliss now going from high to low to try and get a run onto Logan as they go into turn 3. Looks like Logan might have hit the wall a little bit there on the entry, right where the safer barrier starts. Logan using the outside line to his advantage, carrying the momentum and keeping him in front of Brian Chambliss for the moment. As these guys are now working on lap 31 of 100. So that means that we are 30% of our way through this final race for the season. These guys will be racing very hard, and they'll also be starting to think about their pit strategies. Very shortly we should be seeing some cars diving off the track for green flag pit stops. As I said, I'm not sure about how long the fuel run is here for these guys, but I can't imagine it's going to be lasting too much longer. And in other news, Thomas Harmon now has a full 1 second gap over Matt Burgess as we saw a car jumping into the pits. I think that was the 86 of Gerald West. Going for an early pit stop here, trying to get an undercut with the fresher tyres. Looks like the 99 of Dustin German is joining him as well. Let's see how Gerald gets into his box, see if he gets in clean. Looks like we've also lost the 18 of Brian Beach there. I'm not sure what's happened to Brian. Looks like Gerald got into his pit box nice and cleanly. As we've got a battle now, the 42 and the 21, still battling it out very hard here. Looks like the 21 of Brian Chambliss getting the advantage, this time on the low side. Logan went high, he was going to look low as well, as we got more cars heading into the pits. Looks like Logan could not get the switchback to work for him there. We should be seeing which car's going into the pits very shortly. It's actually our leader, Thomas Harmon, who is in the pits. Let's see how he goes with getting into his box. Looks like he slid a little bit there getting into his box, but it's still good. He is still getting his pit service done. It looks like the 12 of Matt Burgess also going to make his way to the pits. And he's got a couple more cars joining him in this pit cycle. Looks like he's got Logan Lansford and Jaron Sanchez coming into the pits with him here. Matt trying to position his car in a way in which he will be able to just zoom straight out of it. Now let's see where Jonathan Hernandez is at. Jonathan's just come into the pits as well. So this is going to make things very interesting when all the pit stops cycle through. We've got the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi now. He's making his way into the pits. And we just got Brian Chambliss in the 21 left on track now. He is going to be the last car to make his pit stop. With the exception of the 5 of Mark Pentecoff, who is actually almost a lap down. You see Thomas Harmon with the fresh tyres going up the inside of Brian Chambliss there to get himself his lap back. And we have to wait and see how everyone crosses the line after the pit stop cycles have completely run their course. So we'll be able to know properly where everyone is at on the track. But Brian Chambliss will have to pit very soon though. If he doesn't, he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble here very shortly. Same with the 5 of Mark Pentecoff, who is still on the track as well. Brian Chambliss now working on lap 40. Looks like the 5 of Mark Pentecoff making his way to the pits, and so is Brian Chambliss now. And this is going to cycle Thomas Harmon back into the lead. Looks like Gerald West, through the pit strategy, has brought himself up into P2 here effectively. Matt Burgess 3rd, Jonathan Hernandez 4th. Again, as I said earlier, we have to wait until everyone's cycled through on this pit cycle to truly find out where everyone is as far as the pit cycle goes. Looks like it is indeed going to be Thomas Harmon in the lead with Gerald West in P2, Matt Burgess 3, Jonathan Hernandez in 4th. And now with Thomas Harmon going across the line, it's going to put everything back to the way it should be as far as the standings banners are concerned. Brian Chambliss, so to his credit, going 40 laps on those tyres and fuel. He could be a force to be reckoned with late in the race. It means that he could pit at lap 60 and be right to go to the end. Provided we don't have a caution, that is. And it looks like we have 42 of Logan Lansford getting challenged by the lap down car now, the 5 of Mark Pentecoff. And if you want to know who got a quick pit stop in there, is actually Travis Massier in the 13 car. His team was able to give him a 13.6 second pit stop. Now that is incredible. It's just 1/10 of a second better than Jaron Sanchez, who had a 13.7 second pit stop. Remember, every 10th of a second spent in the pits, 300 feet on the track. As we're going to look just behind these guys for a little bit, we've got the 7 of Brian Harris and the 24 of Frank Isaacson. These guys are battling it out for the 11th position right now. Going to be very close with these guys indeed. Looks like we're also going to have a battle forming for second place here. The 12 of Matt Burgess chasing down the 86 of Gerald West. These two have been long-time combatants here in the Output Racing League. Looks like Gerald going up very high, almost getting into the wall. And that was everything that the 12 of Matt Burgess needed to get a run on him. Matt now diving it very low into turn 3. He's going to slide up and authoritatively take that position away from Gerald West. Looks like Gerald now definitely slipping back, struggling with grip on his car maybe. As the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez starting to catch up to him as well. As we are just about halfway through this lap, halfway through this race, on lap 49 of 100. Seems that the 86 of Gerald West definitely backing out very early in the corners here. And just like that, the move is made, and that's Jonathan Hernandez back up into P3 as he's trying to chase on the tail of the 12 of Matt Burgess. It looks like the 5 of Mark Pentecoff continuing his spiral down through the field from all of these faster cars than him. We're having a look at the 7 of Brian Harris, who's just behind him at the moment. Brian down in the 11th position, 20 seconds off of the lead, so these guys are probably going to be at risk of going a lap down themselves soon. It only takes 30 seconds, well at the moment, for Thomas Harmon. It takes 31, nearly 32 seconds to make a revolution of this track. And these guys are teetering on the edge of 20 seconds behind him. Which will also mean that they're just 12 seconds in front of him at the moment. Yes, we're going to let iRacing here real quickly just decide who we're going to focus on as we start getting into the second half of this race. Looks like iRacing wants us to keep looking at the back of the pack here. I think we should maybe do a through the field kind of a thing. The 38 of Thomas Harmon, still with a 3.5 second lead almost over the 12 of Matt Burgess, who's currently only half a second in front of his championship rival Jonathan Hernandez in the 88 car. Jonathan fairly solidly in third here after he got the overtake on the 86 of Gerald West, who has dropped to 2.2 seconds back from Jonathan Hernandez now. And chasing after Gerald is the 99 of Dustin German, who's actually locked in battle here with the 13 of Travis Massier. Looks like these guys got themselves kind of settled here for the moment at the very least. And just behind these guys, like, they can't be battling too hard. Right behind these guys is the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. Brian is only 1 second back from these guys in front of him, and just 1 second behind him is the 21 of Brian Chambliss. A very nice blue and black paint scheme here. And just a little bit behind Brian, holding on to a top 10 position, the 4 of Jaron Sanchez up into 9th. Well, I say up into, it's really down into after he started from P6. And right behind him is actually the 42 of Logan Lansford, the second of the 3 Valvoline cars here this evening. These guys fighting it out very hard indeed. Behind the 42 Logan Lansford is going to be the 24 of Frank Isaacson in the Autism Speaks Chevrolet. It looks like Frank trying to fend off the challenge from the lap down car of Mark Pentecoff. And the last car on the lead lap here is actually the 7 of Brian Harris, the third of our 3 Valvoline paint schemes here this evening. But one very interesting thing to note here is that Brian Harris is only 9 seconds in front of our leader, Thomas Harmon, right now. So Thomas will be hungry to try and get a few of these other guys laps down so he can have a little bit of a buffer between himself and the 12 of Matt Burgess. Because 3 seconds is good and all in theory, but if you throw a couple of lap cars in there as well, it's just that extra buffer that you need. As we are now working on lap 59 of 100. In fact, we've just clicked over to lap 60, so 59 laps complete. If drivers decide that they want to pit at the end of this lap, especially if you're the 21 of Brian Chambliss, they'll be knowing that it's a very real possibility that they could make it to the end on fuel. As it looks like Matt Burgess starting to lose his tail in Jonathan Hernandez a little bit here. He'll be happy about that. But he's going to be disappointed to see Thomas Harmon skipping away so far ahead of him right now. We're going to let iRacing decide again very quickly here just who we should look at. And for some reason we've gone back to the 5 of Mark Pentecoff, and now we've got a battle. The 99 of Dustin German, who's battling away with the 13 and the 21. As Travis Massia and Brian Chambliss. They're also chasing down the 78 of Brian Pisacemi. So this could very quickly become a 4-way battle fairly shortly here. But is anyone going to play the strategy game and pit early the tyres and fuel and try and make it to the end? Time is going to tell, but I like to speculate. Looks like Brian and Travis are working each other over very hard here. Brian almost getting a move done on the inside. He's got such entry speed into the corner there. He almost closed in too far on Travis and gave him a little bit of a tap. Nothing doing though. He does have fresher tyres than everyone else on the track at the moment. So he'll be using that to his slight advantage. He's actually got 6 lap fresher tyres than Travis Massia. And that would explain this crazy entry speed that he's got over Travis at the moment. As we see some cars starting to make their way down to the pit lane now. Not sure who that was. That was Gerald West in the 86. Like Dustin German is going into the pits as well. These guys still battling it out here. We've got Gerald West and Dustin German racing off the fact of they can make it from here to the end. 21 of Brian Chambliss now finally getting the inside run on the 13 of Travis Massia. Travis giving him all the room in the world. Brian Chambliss is going to take that position. That's now effectively P5 as Jaron Sanchez is also making his way to the pits. Homestead in 99, Dustin German coming out of it. But Brian Chandler's still not in the clear yet. Travis Massier is still right there on his tail. And it looks like the 7 of Brian Harris is actually going to be in quite a bit of stripe here shortly. We're going to go into the gyro cam of Thomas Harmon, see if we can see him from in here. There he is, Brian Harris. Just one solemn straightaway in front of Thomas Harmon right now. Thomas Harmon still our leader at the moment. Still by a very long way as well. As he's put Mark Pentecoff in between himself and Matt Burgess. See the 4 of Jonas Sanchez just coming out of the pits. Right behind Thomas Harmon here. But he's going to dispose of Thomas Harmon very quickly as he has much fresher tyres. But these leaders will be strongly thinking about coming into pits sometime very shortly. Let's see now the 5 of Mark Pentecoff also trying to find his way back around the 38 of Thomas Harmon. I think if I was Thomas, I would be pitting very shortly as we now start lap 70. 31 laps to go in this race. They come in and pit now. They only have to do 30 laps on this set of tyres. Looks like Brian Chambliss and Frank Isaacson are in the pits now as well. Frank Isaacson's just coming out of the pits actually. There he is on the inside of the track. We're just waiting for Thomas Harmon to make his pit stop. But at the moment, as it stands, our top 4 are our top 4 championship protagonists. Thomas Harmon, Matt Burgess, Jonathan Hernandez, Brian Pisacemi, with Logan Lansford down in 5th position. Brian Harris still had not pitted yet, losing a lot of time to Thomas Harmon right now. He's just about to be passed by Mark Pentecoff even. As Thomas Harmon's now coming in for his pit stop. See what the 12 does. The 12 is coming in as well. Jonathan Hernandez. I think Jonathan's staying out. Yep, Jonathan Hernandez stays out. The 78 of Brian Pisacemi staying out too. And it looks like Logan Lansford's going to stay out as well. So let's see how Thomas does in his pit stop here. Once he rolls into his box, then we're going to go back and have a look to see how the 12 of Matt Burgess gets along. Both of them very nicely into their pit boxes. I was now going to go check out Jonathan Hernandez. Looks like he's coming into the pits as well. Let's see how Jonathan gets on with getting into the pit box. Brian Pisacemi in the pits as well. Nice stop in the box for Jonathan there. And it looks like Brian almost a little bit too far back, but not quite. As we go back to Thomas Harmon now. Logan Lansford, the only one who has not pitted yet. But that probably won't wait too long. In fact, Logan is in the pits right now. So we'll still have to wait a couple laps to see how everything's going to shake out for everyone. But I wouldn't put it past Thomas Harmon to still be in the lead of this race. Brian Harris still hasn't gone for his pit stop either, actually. And I am very wrong, actually. Gerald West and Dustin German, through pit strategy and pitting early, are in front of Thomas Harmon. As Brian Harris comes in for his pit stop now. Looks like Logan Lansford is actually at risk of going a lap down as he's come out of his pit box. But he'll use that fresher tyre advantage to pull away from these guys. We're going to watch from the gyrocam inside Thomas's car here. See Dustin German right in front of him. Dustin has 8 lap older tyres than Thomas at the moment. Thomas looks to the inside. Looks like he's there. Watch out at the left side here of Dustin German's car. There's Thomas. And there he goes. Nice pass there for Thomas Harmon. Now Thomas is going to start marching up towards Gerald West, who currently has a 2.5 second advantage over Thomas. So let's see if Thomas can catch up to him in these last 20 laps. Not going to be easy, but I wouldn't put it past Thomas Harmon to be able to do it. As we're now having a look at Matt Burgess, kind of in his own little world here. 0.6 of a second in front of Jonathan Hernandez. We've got a battle here between the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi and the lap down car of the 7 of Brian Harris. So Brian Harris with the fresher tyres there, pulling away from Brian Pizzakemi. Still definitely have too many Brians in this league. So let's start going through the field. Start with the 86 of Gerald West. Only 1 second in front of the 38 of Thomas Harmon. The 99 of Dustin German holding up the 3rd position. 12 of Matt Burgess currently 4th and closing in on Dustin. Jonathan Hernandez in the 88 P5. And then we've got the 21 of Brian Chambers in 6th. The 13 of Travis Masia in 7th. The 78 of Brian Pizzakemi P8. The 4 of Jaron Sanchez P9. The 24 of Frank Isaacson is in 10th. And the 42 of Logan Lansford, the last car in the lead lap, P11. As now, let's go and focus on this battle for the lead as it's going to unfold. Thomas is right there behind Gerald now. Gerald pulling up high, following the racing line. Thomas cutting the corner down, taking that low line. They're also catching up to the 5 of Mark Pentecoff. Thomas getting that move made so easily that he's actually gotten a double overtake there in 1 and 2 and gotten around the 5 of Mark Pentecoff as well. It looks like Matt Burgess has made his way around the 99 of Dustin German, and so has Jonathan Hernandez. Now it's up to Hernandez to try and catch up to the 12 of Matt Burgess. These guys are still a couple of the guys locked in the battle for the championship win. And it's going to be pretty hard with Thomas Harmon being so far up the pack. But anything is still possible. This is motor racing after all. I'm trying to look to see if we've got any other battles going on. It doesn't look like we actually have anything as far as a battle is concerned. So we're just going to keep watching Matt and Jonathan here. These guys battling out for third on track, but also battling for second in the championship, because they are so far behind Thomas Harmon right now. 3.5 second gap between Thomas and Matt. Matt just holding off Jonathan Hernandez at the moment. Jonathan trying to look for any advantage he can get around Matt. It doesn't look like he's going to have any avenue of opportunity at the moment. And these guys have now also caught up to the back of Gerald West. Going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons as far as these guys trying to get around him. But Jonathan has 1 lap fresher tyres than Matt as well. So we'll see how that will affect him in trying to attempt an overtake on Matt Burgess. I think with how much he's been sitting behind Matt, it's going to be about the same as far as the tyre wear is concerned. You see now Matt diving down the inside of Gerald. Gerald actually holding pretty firm this time around, instead of sliding all the way up towards the wall. Gerald using the momentum on the outside line there to stay ahead of the 12 of Matt Burgess at the moment. But Matt Burgess just so quick on entry with the fresher tyres. Jonathan Hernandez fancies his luck as well. Tried to get around the 86. And if he could have done it there, he could have also stuck his nose up on the inside of Matt Burgess, but that wasn't to be. Gerald West now sliding all the way up to the wall much earlier than anticipated, but he's still holding on to the position over Jonathan Hernandez at the moment. In fact, Gerald is trying to make a race out of this between these guys. I did say he was going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, and that's exactly what he's done. As Jonathan Hernandez is struggling to get around Gerald West at the moment. But I think that's because Gerald West running that higher line, he gets the draft off of the 12 of Matt Burgess on the straightaways, which just gives him that slight bit of an advantage to stay in front of Jonathan Hernandez, but it wasn't to work this time. Jonathan Hernandez getting the move done going into 1 and 2. As we now have 10 laps to go in this race, almost 9 laps left in this race. So the real battle on track is the one here for P2. But one thing that's kind of surprised me is that Brian Pizzicami has not really been a feature in this top 4 battle at the moment. He's just kind of been about mid-pack the entire race, which is unfortunate for him. As we're almost done with working lap 92. Only a handful of laps left in this race as they come flying along the main straightaway. Matt Burgess has gained a half a second gap over the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Going to be tough for Jonathan to try and effect a move on Matt. Matt is one of the hardest people to pass. So it's definitely going to be a showdown between these guys to see who's going to get second in the points. I think it's going to go the way of Jonathan Hernandez just quietly. But we'll just have to wait and see how the points shake out. As for the moment, these guys seem to be holding station with about that half a second gap. Ryan Pizzicami, as I said earlier, just down in P6. It just hasn't really been featuring too much in this race. It's unfortunate for him because he had so much promise coming into this round. But it just was not to be for him. As we're now working the last 5 laps of this race, Thomas Harmon is looking absolutely unbeatable from here. And why wouldn't he be? He's been one of the most dominant forces this entire season. And just look at the way he's conducting himself in the car here. Just absolutely smooth as silk. As he's starting to catch up to the back of some of these lap cars, including Frank Isaacson, who is currently the last car in the lead lap in 11th. Let's have a look at the stats on Thomas Harmon at the moment. His last lap was a 32.2, which was the second fastest time for that last lap. The fast time is actually by Matt Burgess at a 32.1. And the fast lap of the race is actually credited to Travis Massier here at a 30.726. Not sure what lap he done it on, but that's not a bad effort there from Travis Massier. As we see now, going along the back straight for the penultimate time, Thomas Harmon really pouring the pressure onto Frank Isaacson right now. If Thomas was a nice, kind, gentle person, he would not put Frank a lap down. So let's wait and see what he does. Looks like he's content with sitting behind Frank for the moment. Just have to wait and see where his heart lies, whether he is the nice, kind, gentle person that I describe him as. As he comes around the final corner for the final time, your winner here at Homestead and your winner overall in the championship, the 38 of Thomas Harmon. P2 will go to the 12 of Matt Burgess, and P3 will be the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Alright guys, we're going to go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be having driver interviews with the top 3, our season champion and the Hard Charger Award winner. So make sure you stick around for that. Alrighty, guys, we are back, and first in the booth, we have our third place getter tonight, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Jonathan, flag to flag race, mate. How do you feel after going 100 laps of Homestead?
I mean, I feel great, a little wore out simply because the car does get tight here but overall third place, I'll take it, especially with the top 4 in the championship. I thought I would get a win, but top 5 I'll take, especially a top.
Yeah, Thomas just seemed to be too strong tonight. And with it being a long green flag run, a little bit of pit strategy came into call there, especially with like the 86 Gerald West managing to get fourth through some excellent pit strategy. How were you trying to figure out your pit strategy as far as trying to gain an advantage over not only Matt but Thomas?
Well, I knew, Gerald and Dustin were gonna pit early, especially after the first stop. So I knew what their strategy was gonna be, and but coming to the first pit stop, I made the decision to pit at least 2 laps after Thomas and Matt. That way, if we do get along, which we did, uh, it would come in towards the middle, towards and the end of the long run, which you saw, and I was able to gain time on Matt and Thomas after being almost 5 seconds behind Thomas and about 4 behind Matt.
All right, man. Now let's talk about how tight the cars were getting towards the end of the run, because it looked like, especially in traffic, a lot of people were struggling for grip. What's that like as a driver, and what can you do to try and counteract that?
Well, coming to this race, I was hoping it would end up like last week, where the high line would kick in after a good long run, but it just never did. And I tried to make it work early in the run and or early in the race, but it just would never come in. I would just lose so much time trying to do it. So with the tightness of these cars and it becoming mostly a 1 lane track, it was just pretty difficult, especially when you had to make passes because you had to time them perfectly either off the corner or going into the corner. And it was just a little too difficult compared to last week, but I was able to manage and pull off a strong finish.
Alrighty, man. Well, while we got you up in the booth, anyone you'd like to thank for helping you out here tonight?
Well, firstly, I want to thank you and Jaron for putting on an awesome season. With the high and lows and everything, it was just overall a good season. I think with this being my second season, it was better than last season simply because I was able to get wins and top fives. And I also like to thank my parents for supporting me and uh, watching these when I recommend them, and my brother, of course, who watches them as well. And I'm just ready to go on to the next season.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, Jonathan. Congratulations on P3 in the race. And I'm pretty sure you're also top three in the points, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe I'll be second compared to Brian. It'll be close between me and Brian.
Well, there you go. All right, well, thank you very much, man. Congratulations. And look forward to seeing what you can do next season.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, so that was the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez, tonight's third place getter. And coming up in P2 tonight, he fought hard for a lot of the race and just fell a little bit short there at the end, but managed to hold on to the second place over Jonathan. We are talking about the 12 of Matt Burgess. Matt, what a fantastic race, man. How do you feel?
Oh, pretty good. I was kind of hoping I could stick with Thomas there, but he was a little bit better on his pit stops. My first pit stop, I ended up sideways. Luckily, I still got serviced. But yeah, he's faster. We're pretty close to each other in speed here, but he's just a little bit faster.
Yeah, we noticed right towards the start of the race that he was just only gaining a tenth on you here and there, but those tenths of a second, they add up pretty quickly, don't they?
Yeah, I think when he pit, I think he was like 1.2 seconds ahead of me, and then on the first pit stop with me being kind of at an angle and stuff. I had a slow pit stop, but I also probably got in a little bit slower than he did, so I lost 2 seconds there. So that was pretty much the game right there, unless we had gotten a caution.
So let's talk a little bit about your pit strategy there. Um, I reckon you had a pretty good pit strategy as far as when you were pitting on what lap. But what did you make of Gerald West and Dustin German with how early they pitted compared to everyone else there for that final stop?
Um, I mean, it can work, but the tire drop off is pretty good here. So you get some fast laps and then they'll drop off. But when you get in the later laps, you're not really losing a lot of time. Um, that's all. They've had to put some long runs on those tires, and I think that's where it hurt them. They end up having 10 more laps on their tires when we get to them.
All right, man. So it was a close fight for the championship overall. Not for the win of it, of course, but for second, third, and fourth. And you were on the tail end of that coming into it. Uh, how do you reckon you fared with this second place finish, considering that Ryan Pizzakemi has finished down in P6?
Oh, I think I was like 10 points behind him. So it would have been tough for me to pass him unless he finished outside the top 10. So I'll probably end up stuck in still in fourth, probably pretty close to him, but that's okay. I mean, it's a kind of a rough year. It didn't go exactly like I did. I got a win, and I either finished well or I had issues. So I'm happy with where I ended up.
Alrighty, man. Well, while you got you up in the booth, anyone you'd like to thank you tonight?
Thank Jaron for running the league. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for the broadcast. They're always fun to watch. All the racers that come out, people that come out and watch your stream, rebroadcast of the race and watch live on YouTube. Hopefully, this next year or next season, I should go into the B car. Should be a lot more interesting. This A car, we kind of got used to it, but I'm really looking forward to running the B car.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, man. And we look forward to seeing what you can do next season.
All right, have a good one.
Alright, guys, so that was the 12 of Matt Burgess holding on to that second place there. Coming up next, a man who needs very little to almost no introduction. We all know who it is. We're talking to not only race winner, but season champion for 2019 Season 2, the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Thomas, man, what an amazing race. You were dominant the entire time, and that was pretty much the trend for most of the season.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. We knew from the practice race, and I think we ran just a mess around race a couple months ago, and um, it just I had the ability to move through the field and stay in front of the field when I got there and pull away when I needed to. And when we come here with championship on the line, I felt pretty confident that I was going to take it away.
Well, take it away, you did, and you did it right from the drop of the very first green flag there. Only gaining like a tenth or two here and there, but that first pit stop cycle was really what propelled you to have such a large gap. We did notice later on in the race there with Gerald West and Dustin German pitting fairly late that you might have had a little bit of a challenge there. What was your thought process seeing them out in front of you on track after you came out from that last stop?
Oh, I knew they pitted early, and I knew that they would be a good distance ahead, but I also knew that they would have much older tires, and the time that it would take me to catch them, they wouldn't be there with it. I'd be able to get by them by the end of the race. Um, but my biggest concern was whether or not Matt was going to be able to catch me if they fought me too hard. But thankfully, they didn't fight me too hard, and I caught him in opportune times and kept that distance on Matt.
All right, man. So, as we said earlier, it's been a fairly dominant season for you here. And not all the races went your way, obviously, but at least as far as what we've got broadcasted shows, you've been always there or thereabouts. Just overall, how have you been feeling this season with the A car and all the adjustments that they've been making to it for the official iRacing stuff?
Overall, I've enjoyed it, but I been a few finishes and races in the season that I felt my result didn't reflect how well I ran in the race or how well I could have run in the race. Like Texas, for example, went 4 laps down because the game froze and ended up making all the way back to 1 lap down. But um, things like that happen, and to be able to fight back from it and win it overall at the end of the season feels pretty good.
All right, man. Well, while we got you up in the booth, now you got a few people to thank. Who you got to thank tonight?
Thank you and Jaron putting on the league and broadcasting it and letting us come out every week and have fun. Everybody else on the track that comes out every week and is friendly, and we all have a good time during the race, after the race. Um, and that's really all I got.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on again on not only the win for the race, but the win for the championship. That
Thank you,
trophy is
sir.
going to look excellent on your mantelpiece.
Yes, it will.
Alrighty, guys. So that was the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Not only tonight's winner, but the winner for the season, number 2 of 2019. Coming up next, we've got a man that we don't talk to too very often, but when we do, it's always a bit of fun. And he is also tonight's hard charger. We are talking to the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Brian, did you think you'd be pulled in here for this interview when you finished the race, mate?
Uh, I knew I moved forward, so I mean, I knew I had a chance there, but I don't know if I'm really the hard charger. I put together a pretty crappy qualifying lap, but hey, I'll take it.
Well, see, a lot of people have been saying to me since I announced that you were going to be the hard charger that, you're 4 seconds off the pace in qualifying. It's my award. I get to bend the rules as I please.
I know, right? It's your stuff. Let them be.
I'm the one that pays out the prize money. All right, man, but overall, it was a great race for you, as we've outlined. Going from 11th to 7th in the race, no mean feat, especially with it going flag to flag like this. How was the car feeling for you the entire race?
Starting in the back was really a disadvantage. The cars are so airtight here. As soon as you get behind somebody, the thing doesn't want to turn anymore. So it's really hard to pass. So that was pretty difficult trying to move forward and being one of the few that actually did move forward in the race. It was pretty nice. I wish I would have put a little more time in beforehand, got some practice in, and learned how to drive the thing, and then probably maybe been interviewing me for a podium finish rather than the hard charger.
All right, man. Well, let's talk about trying to pass here for a minute, because something that we always ask the hard charger is you've already outlined how difficult it is being in traffic. So let's continue on that a little bit with how hard is it to try and get a move, and what did you find worked best for you?
It just took a long time to set people up. You could get runs to where you could get to someone's bumper on entry, but if you weren't able to drive the thing in there and kind of slide job them, they were going to kill you off the turn, or you were going to kill them and put them in the wall. So it was kind of just battling the arrow push there and making sure you weren't driving into someone's door on the inside and still trying to get a good run off. It took several laps to try to get a pass done unless you were able to pull off a big time slide job.
All right, man. So, as I said, we don't get to talk to you very often, as I've got the wrong car up on the screen. There's your car. So we don't get to talk to you very often. We know that you have a couple of people that you got to thank. So who do you have to thank for us this week?
Yeah, go ahead and thank the league and Jaron and all the drivers for coming out. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good guys here. As you see, the race went caution free tonight, so there's a lot of good guys here. They know how to race. They're all clean. They're all respectful. So that's great too. You do a great job with the broadcast. It's always interesting coming and watching the replays after the race and hearing some of what your takes on what's going on in the race. You're very very unique. I also like to thank my family and my wife for putting up with this bull crap that I do all the time. I know sometimes it drives her nuts, but I mean, it's what I do. We all have our vices, right? Mine's just driving virtual cars online.
Oh, don't worry, that's a vice that I know very well. All right, well, thank you for your time here, Brian. Congratulations on getting the Hard Charger Award for this event. And hopefully, we'll see you again next season.
Yep, that's the plan. I'll be here next season, and hopefully, you won't be talking to me as a hard charger. Maybe we'll be able to put together a championship run and knock Thomas off.
Well, here's hoping, man. All right, guys.
Yep, let's call out. I'm coming for you, Thomas.
So the gauntlet has been laid down already. We haven't even completely closed out this season. The gauntlet is being thrown down. Thank you very much, Brian. Congratulations again. All right, guys. So we're going to start ending up here, but we're going to bring Jaron Sanchez in for a talk quickly first. Jaron, it's the end of season 2 of 2019. What an amazing season it has been, man.
It's been a good season, man. A lot of good racing, some clean racing. A lot of green flag racing, which has been good. We like that around here, and yeah, it's been a good time.
Alrighty, so let's talk season 3 2019. What have we got going on? How long's the season going to be? What cars are we going to be in?
The season's gonna be a little longer. We want the season to carry us till the end of this year, basically before Christmas. So, and we're also gonna introduce a playoff format for next season. So, I think it's gonna be 18 or 19 weeks long. I'm not 100% sure, but we wanted to finish out the end of the year with that. So when 2020 comes around, we can start after the new year. But looks like we're going with a B car, and at least I think that's what we're going. Nothing's set in stone. We're still kind of kicking around a lot of ideas, but we're going to be taking 3 weeks off, and I know for sure we're going to bring in a playoff format.
Another big announcement that I've actually got for next season is we're going to be making the move over to Twitch.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think that it'd be better for us to grow the audience and grow interest in our league if we make the switch over to Twitch with the Aussie Sim Commentator channel. But
I'm all for it.
But don't worry, guys. If you want to keep up with the stuff going on here on YouTube, the races will be getting recorded and posted to YouTube almost immediately after the race is over. So that's going to be a thing that we're going to be doing next season to see how that works. But yeah, flag to flag here tonight for the final race of the season. It came down to this final race with the top 4 combatants. And very close finishing from 2nd to 4th there in the points overall.
Yeah. Thomas. It was no secret Thomas was probably gonna take it, but it was still a close battle. Anything could have happened between them. I think next season it'll be a little more competitive. We might hopefully would have a few more fighting for that. Well, with the playoffs especially, we're gonna have a lot more fighting for that championship. But yeah, it's fun seeing everyone grow and getting better and being more competitive out there. Learning from the other drivers. I know I am.
Oh, I do too, and all I do is half of the practice session.
Yep.
All right, guys, so this is where we're going to wrap up this broadcast. This is where we're going to wrap up the season. Thank you, everyone who has stopped by, whether it's here for the actual live broadcast on YouTube or the replay over on my personal Twitch channel. It's been an amazing season. Thank you to Jaron for putting on the league. All the drivers who come out and race every single week. You guys are the champs. Without you guys, we don't have a league. And thank you to everyone who comes and watches us either on Twitch or YouTube. You guys make the show possible and make me want to continue broadcasting it instead of racing. And for now, this is going to be the end of the season, but don't fret, it will only be about 2 or 3 weeks once we get all the finer details ironed out before we come back for Season 3 2019. And as you heard, big shake-up with the format with a longer season, playoffs, and the change of broadcasting scenery. So we hope to see you all then, but for now, we're going to say good night, see you later, goodbye, whatever it is. And we'll see you guys next time.